Wealth is not a stroke of luck. It's the result of a way of thinking they didn't teach you in school, but that you can learn starting today. This audiobook is not empty theory. It's a clear and direct guide, a mental map so you know what to think, what to change, and how to act if you want real results. Here we don't speak from privilege. We speak from action, from what any person can apply, even if they're starting with nothing. Get ready, because today, in the next few minutes, you're going to draw a new map inside your mind, and if you follow it, your decisions, your habits, and your results are going to start changing. Chapter 1. Where are you standing? Imagine you're left in the middle of a huge city, without signs, without GPS, without internet. They give you a map to help you, but that map is useless. If you don't know where you're standing, it's the same with money. Many people want to move forward, get out of debt, have financial freedom, but they have no idea what mental point they're at. And when you don't know where you're starting from, you walk in circles. When I talk to you about where you're standing, I'm not referring to how much money you have, nor to your bank account, nor to your debts. I'm referring to something deeper, to how you think about money. And you didn't invent that. That way of thinking comes from what you saw at home, from what you heard as a child, from what society repeated 1,000 times until you believed it. Maybe you heard phrases like, money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are bad, money goes away like water, better poor but happy. And even though today you say you want to improve, if deep in your mind those phrases are still there, then the map you're using is outdated. Your mind still believes that having money is bad, or that you can't, or that only some achieve it. I'm going to tell you a real story, Laura. A working woman. Every time she managed to save some money, she ended up lending it, giving it away, or spending it on something she didn't need. When they asked her why, she said, I don't want them. To think I think I'm all that. That thought is part of her mental map, because in her mind, having money was dangerous. It was reason for rejection. That's why, without realizing it, she herself took care of being left with nothing. Now I want you to do an exercise. Answer these questions with total honesty. 1. What's the first thing you think when you hear the word money? 2. How did they talk about money in your house when you were a child? 3. What do you think of rich people? 4. Do you feel comfortable receiving money? Breathe deeply and look at yourself without judging yourself, because there in those answers is your starting point. Maybe you think things like, money barely covers me, I never know what I spend it on, that's too expensive for me. And those phrases aren't coincidental. They're traces of your mental programming. The problem isn't that you think them. The problem is that you say them every day without realizing it, and that you repeat them as truths, when in reality they're just mental habits you learned without wanting to. Maybe today you're in debt. Maybe you have zero savings, maybe you don't even know how to start. Does that put you off the map? No, that's also part of the map, because the current situation you have is not your final destiny. It's just the place where you're beginning, and that place can be transformed. Do this with me now. If you can, close your eyes for a moment and repeat. In your mind, where I am now is not where I'm going to stay. This is my starting point and I can move from here. Breathe deeply and feel that possibility opening within you. Listen to this idea well. You can't have a new map if you keep using old thoughts. Wealth doesn't start when you earn more money. It starts when you change the way you see it. And changing the way of thinking is like turning on a flashlight inside a dark tunnel. At first, you don't understand anything, but each step illuminates more. This first chapter doesn't ask you to be rich or to understand everything. It only asks you to be honest with yourself, because all real change starts with recognizing where you are. And if you're listening to this now, you're already doing something most don't do. You're observing your mind. You're drawing the first point of your map, and that's already an act of mental wealth. Chapter 2. The compass, knowing where you're going. Imagine for a moment that you're inside a car. The engine starts, you have fuel, you're ready to move. But there's a problem. You don't know where you're going. You can move forward, turn at the first corner, accelerate, but if you don't have a clear direction, it doesn't matter how much you try, you're going to end up exhausted and probably in the same place where you started. That happens to most people with money. They want to have more, they want to get out of debt, they want a better life. But they haven't stopped to ask themselves exactly, where do I want to get to? What does wealth mean to me? What is my true goal? Having a mental compass is knowing clearly what you desire, because if you don't know, your mind doesn't know how to help you. The mind needs direction, not confusion. When someone says, I want to have more money, that's like telling the GPS, take me to a nice place. Your brain needs exact coordinates, amounts, deadlines, purposes. It's not enough to say, I want to improve. You need to define it. For example, instead of saying, I want to be free, you can say, I want to generate 5 million pesos a month with my own business that I enjoy and use that money to live peacefully, help my family, and travel twice a year. Do you notice the difference? It's concrete, measurable, inspiring. Your compass should excite you, but it should also give you a clear route that you can follow with your eyes open. And here comes a powerful truth. The mind is activated with details. When you give it details, your brain starts looking for opportunities, connections, ideas, even while you sleep. You don't need to know how to get there yet. You just need to define where you want to go. Do this exercise. Now, if you can, close your eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize that number you want to receive each month. If necessary, you can pause the video. Imagine the lifestyle you want to build without limits, without judgment. Just observe. Now open your eyes and write it down somewhere where you can read it every day. You can use the video comments to do it. Don't erase it. Don't hide it. Leave it there because that's your compass. But there's something more. Your compass isn't just based on money, it's based on purpose. What do you want to have more for? Just to buy things or to have peace? To help? To live with freedom? When your compass has a true what for, motivation is born alone. You don't need anyone to push. You wake up with more energy and your mind enters a state of creation. I repeat it to you. It doesn't matter if today you're without work, without savings, or with debts. You can start building your compass from where you are. Because believe it or not, most people never stop to define their destination. That's why they live going in circles, and you're not going to be one of them anymore. Here's your practical task. Take a few minutes today and write 3 things. 1. How much money do you want to generate each month? 2. In what time do you want to achieve it? And 3. What do you want it for? What would you do if you already had it? You don't need to know how yet. We'll see that in the next chapters. For now, just draw your north, trace your goal, activate your compass, because remember this. The mental map of wealth isn't just thinking about money. It's having a direction so clear that every step you take makes sense. And from today, you have a compass in your hand. Chapter 3, The Path of Decisions. Imagine you're walking along a path, and every meter you advance, there's a fork, a small choice. Turn right or left, keep walking or stop, take a step or go back. That's exactly what happens in your mind every day, because your financial life doesn't change suddenly. It changes with small decisions you take without realizing it. People usually think that wealth comes with a great opportunity, an inheritance, stroke of luck. But the truth is that rich people didn't become rich because of one single great decision, but because of thousands of small decisions made differently over years. Every time you spend money, you make a decision. Every time you save or don't do it. Every time you say, I can't, or I'm going to try it. Every word, every thought is a step on that path. And here comes something key. The mental map of wealth is traveled with the feet of your decisions. I'll give you a real example. Carlos, 27 years old, earned just enough, lived day to day, and every time he got paid, the first thing he did was buy new clothes, go out to eat, invite friends, and by the 3rd day, he had nothing left. One day he wrote down all his expenses in a notebook. He realized that in a month he spent more on things he didn't remember than on what he really needed. And there he understood something that changed everything. It wasn't lack of income, it was lack of intelligent decisions. And you, how many times do you buy things on impulse? How many times do you say, "I deserve it," when in reality you're running away from inner emptiness? Small decisions reveal whether you're walking toward wealth or toward repetition of the same thing. Do an exercise. Think about the last 3 decisions you made with your money. Just 3. Were they impulsive? Were they to please someone else? Did they bring you closer to or take you away from your goal? Answer it without guilt, without judgment. Just observe it. You can do it in the video comments to interact and notice how everyone can make the same mistakes. Because just as you recognized where you are in the previous chapter, now you're going to recognize how you walk. There are silent decisions that stop you, like telling yourself, "This isn't for me," or thinking, "I could never do that," or saying, "Why save if it's not enough anyway?" Each one of those phrases is like taking a detour toward stagnation, but there are also decisions that open new paths. Decisions like, "I'm going to read 10 minutes a day about money. I'm going to save 10% of each income. I'm going to stop buying from anxiety." Deciding isn't something big and distant. It's something small and constant. Wealth isn't the destination. Wealth is the route, and you choose it every time you think, speak, or act. Here you have 3 practical steps to change the course of your decisions from today. 1. Make a list of daily habits you repeat with your money. Be brutally honest. 2. Cross out the ones you know sabotage you and write next to them a smarter alternative. Example: I buy without thinking. Can be changed to wait 24 hours before buying something non-essential. 3. Choose only one to start today and sustain it for 7 consecutive days. That's walking with direction. Don't underestimate this. There are those who read 100 books and don't change anything. And there are those who change just one habit and transform their entire life. It's not how much you know. It's what you decide to do with what you know. And to finish this chapter, I want to leave you with a clear image. Every day is a crossroads, and you carry the mental map in one hand and the compass of your goal in the other. The only thing that determines if you'll arrive is how you choose to walk today. Decision after decision, step after step. You don't need to run. You just need not to stop. Repeat this internally. Today, I choose to think like a rich person. Today, I make decisions aligned with the life I want. Today, I start to really walk. This is the true path, the one that's built while you walk it. And now you know exactly how to take the next step. Chapter 4. The map's blind spots. So far, you've recognized what place you're in. You've traced a goal and you've started walking with new decisions, but there's something that can stop you, even though you don't see it coming. Blind spots, yes, just like when you drive a car. And there are zones you can't see no matter how much you look in the mirrors. In your mind, there are also invisible zones, hidden beliefs, repressed emotions, unresolved experiences. And if you don't recognize them, you can do everything right and still feel that something stops you without understanding why. I'm going to give you a very common example. Imagine a person starts to prosper, starts earning more money, having more opportunities, but suddenly, without apparent reason, they get sick or lose focus or make a bad decision. That wasn't an accident, it was a blind spot. A part of their mind that got scared because it believed that if they succeeded, they were going to lose something important. Many of us carry beliefs like, if I have money, they're going to criticize me. If I do well, I'm going to distance myself from my family. If I stand out, others are going to reject me. If I earn more, they're going to want to take advantage of me. Those ideas aren't always conscious, but they act as internal brakes. They sabotage you just when you're about to advance. They make you procrastinate or make impulsive decisions or distrust yourself. And here comes a powerful teaching. Your mind doesn't seek success. Your mind seeks security. And if for your mind, success is dangerous, then it's going to avoid it at all costs. That's why you need to reprogram that hidden part, not to become perfect, but to become free. Do an exercise right now. Close your eyes and answer honestly. What's the worst that could happen if you really did well? Don't think about it superficially. Connect with the bottom. Who could you make uncomfortable? What part of you would be afraid to stand out? What part of your story still hasn't healed? Now open your eyes and write that answer in the comments. Not to punish yourself, but to free what has you trapped. Because when you name fear, it loses power. I'll tell you about Tomas's case, a man who for years lived in scarcity until finally, after a lot of personal work, he started to be successful. But every time his bank account went up, he got stomach sick. When he worked it with a mentor, he discovered that his father had abandoned him after becoming rich. And in his mind, success equaled abandonment. That was the wound that had to be healed. And once he did it, his body stopped reacting with pain. This isn't a fairy tale. This is what happens when you start looking inside. Because the true mental map of wealth also goes through healing your shadows. Here you have a practice you can use daily. Every time you feel fear, doubt, resistance, say internally this phrase: I am safe even when I prosper. My success doesn't distance me from anyone. It brings me closer to who I really am. I can have money and still be myself. Repeat this as many times as you need it, because your mind needs new instructions to be able to advance without fear. Remember this: blind spots aren't eliminated by ignoring them. They're deactivated by looking at them head-on, and you now know how to do it. The map doesn't just have clear paths. It also has dark corners. But if you illuminate them, they no longer have the power to stop you. Your freedom starts when you dare to look at what you used to avoid. Chapter 5. The Minimalist Routine. Most people believe that to become rich, they have to do complicated things, that they have to learn complex investments, have a perfect career, or work nonstop for years. But the truth is much simpler. People who manage to advance don't do more things. They do better things, and most importantly, they do them every day. You don't need a perfect plan or a path full of titles and spreadsheets. What you need is a routine that works, a series of minimum steps you can repeat even on the most difficult days. That's the key. The minimalist routine isn't about demanding the maximum from yourself, but about staying constant in the essential, because what's repeated becomes habit, and what becomes habit transforms your life. Here I'm going to share 3 daily habits you can start applying today without excuses, without complications, and without needing to change everything at once. Just 3 things so small they seem insignificant, but so powerful, they can completely reconfigure your mental map of wealth. First habit: visualize your goal every morning for 2 minutes. That's all. You don't need more. Before looking at your phone, before entering the world, close your eyes and imagine your life resolved. Visualize yourself receiving the money you desire, using that money to help your family, live peacefully, buy without guilt, and have time for yourself. Your brain doesn't distinguish between what's real and what's imagined, and the more you repeat this image in your mind, the more paths your unconscious will start looking for to get there. Second habit: learn something valuable for at least 15 minutes a day. You don't need a university degree to be rich. What you need is to learn useful things constantly. Listen to an audiobook, watch an educational video, read a few pages of a good book, something that expands your vision of money, work, yourself. It doesn't matter if it's only 15 minutes. If you do it every day, your way of thinking starts to rise without you realizing it. And when your mind levels up, your life follows it. Third habit: evaluate your decisions at the end of the day. Take 5 minutes before sleeping and ask yourself honestly, did I think like a rich person today? Did I make a decision that brought me closer to my goal? Or did I just repeat the usual? Don't punish yourself for mistakes. Just observe yourself. Because that act of consciousness, that habit of looking at how you act, turns you into someone awake, someone who no longer moves by impulse but by intention. Many fail because they stop looking at themselves. They get lost in routine, in rush, in distractions. But if you apply these 3 simple habits, you'll see how something changes every week. Maybe your way of spending, or your way of talking, or your energy. But something will change, and that means your mental map is being rewritten. If right now you're thinking you don't have time, I want to tell you this clearly. It's not lack of time, it's lack of intention. You can find 30 minutes a day if you decide to. 2 to visualize, 15 to learn, 5 to review, and 8 to breathe while having coffee without distractions. You decide. Make it simple. Make it daily. Make it yours. It's not about perfection. It's about repetition. And with each repetition, you're giving your mind new instructions, new routes, and new possibilities. The map is activated when you use it, and the minimalist routine is the simplest way to use it every day. Chapter 6. The map is in you. We reach the most important point of this entire audiobook, the moment where you stop looking outside and start looking inward. Because it doesn't matter how much you listen, how much you read, how much advice you receive. If you don't deeply believe that the map is already inside you, nothing will work. Most people live waiting for something external, a stroke of luck, a person to save them, an opportunity that falls from the sky. But those who really change their life are those who realize that the key isn't in what's coming, but in what they already have inside. You don't need to become another person to be rich. You don't need to copy anyone or pretend or fit in. The only thing you need is to remember that you already carry the map in your mind. It's just that until now, you had ignored it, you had forgotten it, or you had filled it with ideas that weren't yours. Every belief you adopted without thinking, every fear you repeated without questioning, every limit you accepted as truth, formed a false part of that map, and that's why you felt lost. But today you have the opportunity to erase what doesn't serve and redraw your path with your style, with your vision, with your essence. Because your map doesn't have to look like anyone else's. Maybe you don't want a mansion or a luxury car. Maybe your version of wealth is more time with your children, peace of mind, traveling the world, or having a job you love. And that's also wealth, because true wealth isn't just money, it's freedom to choose how you live each day. And when you understand that, everything changes. Today, you know where you're standing, you know what your goal is. You've started making conscious decisions. You've detected your blind spots and you have a routine you can apply from today. And now what? Now you trust the process. You're no longer waiting for something magical to happen, because the magical thing is you walking with consciousness. You don't need to have everything resolved. You just need to keep advancing. One step a day, one different decision, one clearer belief. Remember this, it's not fast, but it's sure. When you activate your internal map, life starts organizing in your favor, because you're no longer acting from scarcity, but from clarity. Say this with me now in silence or out loud, as you prefer. My wealth doesn't come from outside. It comes from how I think, act, and decide every day. I trust in me. I trust in my process. I trust that the map is inside me, and every step I take is a sign that my destiny has already changed. This is the true ending, not because it ends here, but because now it's up to you to continue. This audiobook wasn't a magic solution, it was a flashlight. And now that you see the path, it's time to walk it. And if you ever doubt, if you ever feel you got lost, go back to the beginning, listen again, remember again that you already have what you need. Because the mental map of wealth isn't something that's found. It's something that's activated from the moment you truly decide to change your story, and you already decided it. This isn't the end of an audiobook. It's the beginning of a new way of walking through life. Today you've done something very few people do. You stop to observe your mind, to recognize where you are, to decide where you're going, to question what you used to take for granted, and most importantly, to take control of your own map. It wasn't just information, it was activation. They were real tools, practical, human. Because you don't need to be perfect, you just need to decide that you're not going to keep walking without direction. From now on, every time you face an economic decision, ask yourself, does this bring me closer to the life I want? Does this fit with the map I've traced? Does this make me think like someone who already knows where they're going? Repeat your daily routine. Listen again to the chapters that touched you most. And if at some moment you feel lost again, remember this. The map hasn't gone away. The path hasn't disappeared. You just need to breathe and look at it again with new eyes. If this content has helped you start drawing your own mental map of wealth, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. Share this message with someone who needs to hear it, and leave us a comment telling us which chapter impacted you the most. Your transformation starts today, and we want to be part of your journey toward financial freedom. Subscribe now, and let's continue building your path to prosperity together.